Minnesota.
Hey, Big Mike
Carlos,
in
Houston.
Minnesota. There's my good buddy Carlos in Houston. And give me one more just for the love.
Jordan in Nevada.
Who is that in Nevada?
Jordan.
Oh, this is Cowgirl Jordan in Nevada. Our Cowgirl model, our portfolio model Cowgirl Jordan in Nevada. It's a pleasure to have you. And who was that? There was a gentleman that came out at the same time?
Jonathan Williams from New York.
Jonathan Williams in New York. It's a great brother and a gentleman to close out our
This conference is being
introductions
recorded.
with, as our call recording is now turned on and
All callers are muted.
our lines are now locked. It is 11:35 on the East Coast of the United States of America and 8:35 on the West, and that means it's time for the industry's #1 performance coaching wake-up call to begin. And boy, do we have a very special one for you today. You know, I love having guests on this call like this. And when I got started in this industry about 7 or 8 years ago, well, about 7 years ago, I don't want to make myself sound older than I am. I was going through a transitionary kind of a phase in my life. I was looking for some type of lost meaning, a better purpose. And I was a smart guy. I was a hardworking guy. I was raised poor, but nevertheless, I was on the right path to overcome lots of obstacles, if you will, and to give myself a better future. Things didn't work out as it's, should have or whatever, the way that I would liked it to, like easy street forever. There were some hard times along the journey, and I found myself living on the streets for a little while. And, I thought my life was a wreck. Well, I'm absolutely delighted to have our very special guest, Kat Kim, that will be joining us today as just an outstanding individual. And I'll let her tell her story in her own words in just a few. But man, I'm just absolutely jazzed to have her, and I just want to publicly to offer my appreciation in advance. I also want to thank you for being here, listening on this call, and investing the first 25 minutes of your home business workday here with us. I see that our lines, we've set another record on this call. Yesterday was a record day. Today is another record. So that's great. The numbers are going in a positive direction, and that's up. If this is the first time that you've ever experienced this call, you're in the right place with the right people at the right time. Our mission is to unleash the full power of humanity and move our entire industry forward. And we believe that when we help people, just like yourself, live a healthier, happier, richer life, then the right circumstances and people will align for your future. So if you received an invitation to join us on this call, please do come back. You're absolutely welcome here. And if you'd like to have a conversation personally, then feel free to just kind of pull us off on the side. It's not exactly like church, but kind of, sort of. You know what I mean? We're all just real people that have chosen to get real results here. And I do hope that you'll come back every Monday through Thursday. And then pay attention to your inbox over the weekend, because we do have a special training that's coming up. And it will be something that you'll absolutely want to take advantage of and be the first to receive. So with that out of the way, I'd like to bring out a very special guest from originally from South Korea, but residing in the great state of Washington on the Pacific Coast. Her name is Kat Kim, and she's an image consultant, a personal trainer, or a confidence coach. She says she's not been a personal trainer in a while, but she's a confidence coach, and the author of Socially Smart and Savvy. Again, joining us from the great state of Washington. And like I mentioned already, just a few years ago, she found herself as a runaway teenager. She was a homeless drug dealer, for God's sakes. Like I said, I ain't got nothing on this woman. Chronically overweight, addicted to drugs, abuse, alcohol, and abusive relationships. Her rock bottom moment came. This big spiritual epiphany came with a big thunderous crash, if you will. It was a spiritual and a physical awakening. And she found herself rededicating herself to a total transformation in every aspect of her lifestyle, first and foremost with the guidance of spirit and a higher power, and committing herself to physical well-being and total transformation. Now, if you check her out on Facebook, don't let the swimsuit model pictures fool you. She's extremely down to earth and very well grounded. She's not forgotten her roots, and this newfound recognition that she finds herself surrounded with in the industry. She's just kind of rededicated herself to making it her mission to offer this transformation blueprint to women trapped in these situations. But also, I personally, as a real red-blooded American male, get a lot of value out of these types of stories as well. So on this call, we're going to be talking about ways that you can dispel the myths of fat loss, dieting, fashion, image, style. You're going to love this lady. Her process is going to redefine and reinvent not only how you look out on the outside, but how you live your life from the inside. And I do want to invite you to pay to stay on the line and stay with us for the duration of this call, because she's got a very special gift that we're going to be making available for free at the end. And without further ado, I do want to bring out my lovely guest and just an absolute dear old soul, Kat Kim. How art thou today, my lovely lady?
Oh, hello. From one wreck to another. I'm doing so great.
Speak for yourself. I ain't claiming nothing of that train wreck you got going on. No, I do appreciate the level of vulnerability and the transparency that you offer, because I specifically asked you yesterday, how far down this rabbit hole can we go? Because I find a lot of peace and even comfort in you sharing your story. And you were just very open and saying, hey, we'll talk about whatever you want. And so, I have the philosophy, and even in the products that we produce in this course, is that whatever you fail to notice and acknowledge, you will tend to act out. Now, that sounds kind of complicated, but it's the wisdom of the serenity prayer. In other words, until you really get to know yourself, you can't really grow. You're just going to continue to act out this karma over and over and over and find yourself in these repetitive behaviors and relationships and whatnot. And so I can really get the sense that you've come to terms with yourself and of your past, and you've just give it a big namaste blessing, and you wash it away, and you're free to move on and live free. So in your own words, if you don't mind, give us a little bit of background about yourself and tell us, how in the hell did all this happen to you?
Right. Well, first of all, it's a continual process. And I think a lot of people, you're right, Jason. When we don't know ourselves, we can't move forward. I think what people get hung up on is that we think that there's something wrong with us inherently. And so we don't want to go there. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Right? And so we just kind of avoid the whole thing. But there's actually something else down there that's much more beautiful, much more graceful. And that's really where I want to take people. But let me start off with how this all really began. I was 6 years old, and my mother began feeding me diet pills at this age. And at that time, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that she was, giving me this pill, and I asked her, why she used to sit on the counter, or she used to stand at the counter and cut it in half. And I asked her, why is she cutting it in half? And she said, well, these pills are for adults, and you're just a child, so I'm only going to give you half. And so that's kind of how I think all of my insecurities and all of that began. And I honestly don't remember what came first, but this was it became a lifelong struggle of low self-confidence, low self-esteem, and really unhealthy body image. And I grew up in a very emotionally and physically abusive environment, and I started rebelling at a very young age. I started smoking and drinking at 13, doing hardcore drugs at 16. I dropped out of high school. I started dealing cocaine when I was 18. And then I started transporting it from Washington State to California. And on one fateful day, I was caught. I was handcuffed. I was arrested in Oakland, California. Oakland is like one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. It is notorious for its high rates of homicides and violent crimes. And you'd think this was my wake-up call, right? But it really wasn't. I continued to struggle with depression, substance abuse, and abusive relationships. And this entire time, I really hated the way I looked. I couldn't stand looking in the mirror. I never dressed up. I never took care of myself or my appearance. And I walked around like I was the ugliest, fattest, meanest girl in town. And those are harsh words for me to say right now, but that was my truth at that time. And because I put that energy out there, I received it back. I attracted and continued to attract people, things, and circumstances into my life that resonated and validated my belief that I was indeed the ugliest, fattest, and meanest girl in town. And it really wasn't until one day I was walking down my apartment hallway to the elevator, and I caught a glimpse of a woman in the mirror. There's this mirror that hangs on the wall across from the elevator door. And she looked really sad, really depressed. She was in frumpy clothes. Her hair was really stringy, and she had this really bad case of cystic acne that almost engulfed her face, and her face was puffy and swollen, and just looking at this woman made me cringe because it actually looked really painful to be her. And I thought to myself in that moment, and mind you, in this moment, I was in the most depressed state of my life. I was in a very abusive relationship. And in that moment, I thought to myself, oh my God, at least I'm not that bad. And I saw her and I judged her. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks that I was actually looking at myself in the mirror. And I didn't even know it. I had become so disconnected with who I wanted to be as a woman in this world and who I was being that I just did not recognize myself. And that is the moment that I realized that something was terribly wrong with me and how I was living my life. Because the person I dreamed about being was completely different. I had a secret burning desire, really, to be a beautiful, sexy, stylish woman. I wanted to walk into a room and have people notice me. I wanted to be somebody, and have influence and authority, and not just because for how I looked, but for the authenticity and substance of my character. I wanted to be magnetic and attractive, and I wanted people to love me, and I wanted to love people. And that's the moment I decided that I would do whatever it takes to become this person. And really, Jason, I began studying everything I could lay my hands on about transformation. And I became a certified image consultant. I learned about body shapes, color, proportion, and style. I became a personal trainer because I wanted to understand what the physical body undergoes through to achieve transformation. So I studied kinesiology, physiology, biology, weight loss, nutrition, all of that stuff. And I also underwent an intensive 3-year training program to become a transformative life coach, in which I began to understand the psychology of the mindset. And the cool thing about all of this, interestingly, my quest for transformation on the outside actually took me deeper and deeper inside into the spiritual realm.
Dude, that's
where I was able to...
And not to cut you off,
Yeah.
but that's kind of where I was going with
Yeah.
the conversation next is you're such this spiritually grounded person, a very evolved person, and yet there's a lot of compassion there. I don't feel any judgment that comes from you whatsoever at this point. That's a process in and of itself. And I'm just curious because, when I hit rock bottom, there was like the come to Jesus meeting, there was like Jesus speaks to you in a jail cell kind of thing. But you don't seem to have that, but yet it's kind of evolved very naturally and gracefully into your life. And I'm just curious, where did this deep level of spirituality come from? And you were kind of alluding that it actually came to you from working from the outside in. Yeah?
Yes, I desperately wanted to be this person, this beautiful person on the outside. Now, mind you, when I saw myself in the mirror, I was a completely different person. I was overweight. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was not cute, okay? And I had this vision of myself of being a different woman, and so I dedicated myself to finding out how I can become that person. And even though I thought it was all this outside stuff that I had to do, I thought I had to dress differently, I thought I had to lose weight, I thought I had to, do all these things on the outside, what I've discovered is that transformation actually happens from the inside. It really, really does. And this is what started me on my spiritual journey, and where the world of quantum physics, right, opened up to me, and I began understanding the spiritual laws that really govern our physical reality. It's the spiritual laws that govern how much money we have, how we look on the outside, what our relationships are like, and etc. So that's what took me there.
In this community, everything that you're talking about is completely congruent and in alignment. Obviously, we've got Morning Ignition, and then right under the logo, it says mind, money, body. And then we talk about the 4 aspects of a well-balanced life being the physical, mental, emotional, and the spiritual. You've certainly given us your background and your own personal story. Now, and you've credentialed yourself with education and curriculums and courses, et cetera. Tell us kind of, from a coach's standpoint and as it relates to other people, being able to put this into, kind of the blueprint formula that we can all kind of take something from when it specifically, because I love talking about the mind-body connection. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And a lot of people just don't really go there as entrepreneurs, specifically in the home business space. I don't think, it's something like you got to go through it yourself to be able to experience it, but unless you're, you can't, you know what I mean? You just have to experience that for yourself. But I think your results speak for themselves, whether it's just credentialing, but you look at those before and after pictures, and how much weight have you lost? I mean, I'm guessing it's 100.
It's probably about 40 pounds.
That's it.
But I'm 5'4", so
Okay.
5 pounds on me, I go up 2 sizes already. So I'm a smaller girl, and so 40 pounds is a lot.
So when it comes to this self-image thing,
yeah.
I mean, I think that we all kind of suffer from low self-esteem at one point in our life. I just don't think that anyone is immune to having, extremely high self-esteem for the duration of their life. And a lot of that comes from like compassion within yourself and learning to love and forgive yourself. And, that kind of starts that mind-body connection. So kind of just walk us through that as a coach, if you will, and what some of your clients, for example, have experienced, because you've got some wonderful clients and testimonials even on your website.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the biggest misconception about personal image, and I talk about this quite often. Most people, when we're thinking about personal image, we're thinking about how we look to other people. And that's really kind of all we think about. Oh, I don't like the way I look. I'm not presentable. I'm not ready for this, blah, 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 because I look a certain way. I'm overweight. But really, our personal image is comprised of 4 different components, okay? And it is the most powerful communication tool that we own. These 4 components, I call them the ABBCs. I coined that. And it stands for appearance, body language, behavior, and communication. So the way that we dress ourselves, the colors that we wear, the style, even the type of car we drive, all of that is what we can see of people visually. That's our appearance. Body language is, how we move, how we look at people, how long we hold our eye contact, or if we don't have eye contact. It includes some tiny little facial expressions on our face, right? The second B, behavior, stands for everything that we do and we don't do on a daily basis. How we treat people, how we show up in life, what we laugh at, what is it, what makes us, what our humor is like. And then C, of course, is communication, the words that we use to communicate our thoughts and feelings, and even more so, how we use those words with our intonation, volume, and et cetera. So through all of these components, these 4 components, we are constantly sending messages out to our outer world through our personal image, through our appearance, our behavior, our body language, and our communication. The thing is that what we are communicating is really our inner thoughts and feelings. So when people think about personal image and they're just focused on how they look, they're not maximizing this powerful tool. Not only that, but when what we are thinking and feeling is out of alignment and we're confused about things, that comes out. It is communicated through our ABBCs, and it comes out as mixed messages. Have you ever seen that from somebody? Or do you know someone who says one thing but acts completely different? Or how about those people who look really, really great on the outside, but something of maybe their body language or the way that they talk just does not jive. Do you know what I'm saying, Jason?
I've been guilty of that. I don't know how many times. I've had coaches. No, I'm serious. I've had coaches even call me out on that, and they'll call it being incongruent. The way that you think, the way that you speak, but the way that you're shrugging your shoulders and not standing up and just owning your own badassedness. You know what I mean? You're just not owning it and claiming it. Like something's incongruent there. It's
incongruent, and guess what? You are communicating that incongruency out through your personal image. People out in the world are receiving that message.
Yeah, and it leads to total confusion. I mean, in other words, people can perceive you to be one way in social media, for example. They'll meet you in person and they're like, oh, that's not what I was expecting from that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's true.
Exactly. And so here's my thing about this is that if you think about mixed messages and all these components being, communicating different things, you're going to get mixed messages back if you're sending mixed messages. But imagine if these things are in alignment, if they're all congruent, if your appearance your body language, your behavior, and your communication are all in alignment with each other. And they are in alignment with your higher purpose. That is a powerful, clear message. People know you, they like you, they trust you instantaneously. There's no doubt. And they get it. They feel you. Do you know what I'm saying?
I totally get it. And because we're running out of time here, I want to move the conversation along just a little bit. And again, I just want to remind everyone, we're speaking with Kat Kim. She's got a very special gift to offer everyone listening today. So just stick around for 2 or 3 more minutes and we'll get there. You opened up a little can of worms there because I want to talk with you about lifestyle. I mean, you've really kind of evolved now from this brokenness to total abundance and kind of merging this lifestyle thing into it. But one of the things that you just said was, damn it, and it's now escaping me. Of course, right? I mean, it's because you really touched on something that I wanted to highlight. Gosh, it'll come back to me. So, I mean, because we talked about the spiritual, we talked about this body component and this whole personal development, the communication, and then I was going to speak on anyway. Graduate us forward then. Now we're owning this. Things are in alignment and congruent. And now we have to just give ourselves permission to be bold and fearless and to actually go after our dreams again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, just to touch on lifestyle. So here's the biggest change for me, and what I help my clients do too, is that, again, so many of us are focused on changing this outside part of us, whether it's money, body, appearance, relationships, and we put all of our energy there. But actually, the transformation really does begin with our relationship with self, how we think and feel about ourselves on a very, very deep level. And so that is where I highly recommend people spending their time. If they want to see transformation on the outside, then they've got to spend that time with themselves, discovering what really what lights them up. What is their secret burning desire? What do they really want to do in life? How do they want to show up? Do you want to show up sexy, hot, and beautiful? You can be beautiful as a guy too, right?
I want to be handsome, man. I'm George Clooney or something.
Yeah. If that's what calls to you, then connect with that on the inside. You got to feel that in your heart, like really feel it and believe it. And when you can do that, when you spend your time doing that, then the outside stuff actually becomes very, very easy. It's like the Pareto principle. I like to apply the Pareto principle to this, 80-20. Mm-hmm. Spend 80% of your time working on your mindset, your feelings, your emotions, how you think about yourself, uncovering the hidden thoughts that are holding you back. When you can align that piece, then the rest, how you dress, the workouts, all of that is just the remainder 20%. Most of your results are going to come from that 80% spending time on yourself.
We talked about this in regards to business yesterday as well. And, I think that this goes perfectly well. There's no one size fits all for this type of an approach. For example, when you say, give yourself permission to be handsome. And you know what? The first thing that actually entered my mind is like, what if I feel like being Pee Wee Herman today? What if I feel like being like Jim Carrey? I know that sounds ridiculous, but there's nothing wrong with Jim Carrey, or, he's doing all right for himself. And if, I'm going to, my jokes are terrible, but I can work on that, just do the best you can. And but it applies to your business in the same way. In other words, a lot of times people will get hung up on the marketing. I want to be able to generate 50 leads a day on Twitter or Facebook ads and da-da-da-da. And the reality is that if there were a magic silver bullet for a lot of this stuff, we'd all have it figured out. And we've been retired on a private island at, beside, Necker Island with, Virgin Airline guy. What's his, forgot his name.
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson, of course, and Mike Dillard's down there right now. If we had all this stuff kind of figured out, it'd just be called The Way. It wouldn't be called, trial and error kind of thing. And so life and business are kind of overlapping here. I mean, it's really just do what feels right for you, and as long as it's in alignment and congruent, you'll kind of find your voice and you'll find your way, and you're kind of led in a direction of purpose. That's one of the things I want to talk about, like lifestyle. You put so much emphasis in your coaching and in your business and even in your social media about purpose. And I just kind of want to, and this is one of the things I was running, taking my little 6-mile run just before the call. And I was really inspired to kind of ask you about this because I even personally spent some time meditating on it and stuff last night. Purpose. I mean, how do we find this daggone purpose? Like what?
Yeah.
I know this is a can of worms and we've only got a minute or two, but I want you to take us down that road. No, seriously, because I think that you're really, really good at this. And I just kind of want to hear it in your own words.
Yeah, sure. And you know what? I think the word purpose is there's a lot of it can come with a lot of baggage because it's like, oh, I got to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. It's sometimes it's too heavy. So it's okay to just lighten it up a little bit. Sometimes all we need to know is what our purpose is going to be for today. I've had many days like that where all I needed to do was just get through the fucking day,
One day at a time.
And so
I've reminded myself of that 100 million times. And like, for example, and over the past couple of weeks, I think I've forgotten the whole one day at a time mantra. Sometimes 1 minute at a time, right? What's my purpose today? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
What is my purpose right now? Sometimes, we're stuck in a really rough situation. We might be fighting with somebody or, money is tight, whatever. Sometimes it just comes down to what is my purpose right now? What am I to do? And the answer to that is always the answer that makes you feel just a little bit better.
And it's kind of heart-centered, yeah? I mean, it's not a gut-level thing, and it's not cerebral in the head. I mean, it's it's a really grounding kind of centering exercise. Just what is my purpose right now?
Yeah, and go for the thing that makes you feel a little bit better. It doesn't have, so this is where we get hung up, is we think about purpose and we think, okay, what am I going to do 20 years from now? Oh, I'm going to be a multimillionaire and I'm going to do this and that. And then it's like, oh, I don't know how to get there. And we don't move forward. We get stuck. It's too overwhelming.
Lots of great stuff here. And by the way, and I wrote down the appearance, body language, behavior, and communication. I'm probably going to rip that off at some point. And I would invite everybody listening on this call to rip it off. That's good. That's a great way. So one of the things that we talk about, though, on this call, we have a lot of deep conversations, and it feels like some of these principles or philosophies or these life experiences can get kind of out there or even overwhelming. And how do we formulate this into, put it into actual practical application into our life and business today? One of the things I always like to kind of wrap up with is, the top three. What are the top three things that, in your opinion, we can take from all of this and kind of directly apply it into our life and business today?
My top three. Number one, make quiet time or a spiritual practice or solitude part of your morning ritual. This is so important.
She said morning ritual, quiet solitude. Thank you. I didn't pay her to say that either.
Oh.
It's called morning ritual. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Secondly, this is so important. Continue to declutter your home, your office, your mind, your body, and your soul of the things, feelings, people that are not in alignment with you, that are not in alignment with feeling good or feeling better. This is so crucial. You got to make space for the things that you want in your life. You have to clear it to make space for it so that it can come in. And lastly, when you do make that space, you are able to hear messages from the universe, from God, from Source, and you will receive messages and hunches that just seem kind of off the wall and crazy sometimes, but give yourself permission to follow it.
Follow your heart.
Entertain it.
Yeah.
Follow your heart? Yeah.
I love that.
Exactly.
That's excellent. So morning ritual of quiet time, declutter space so that you can invite, what you really want into your life. I mean, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. We can only kind of keep our focus on one thing at a time. So whether it's, cleaning your office environment to, in order to simplify, in order to receive more in your life, you have to consume less. in other words.
Yeah.
And Warren Buffett is famous for the quote that the difference between very successful people and successful people is that very successful people will say no to almost everything. In other words, they keep things very, very simple and direct. So declutter. And then pay attention to those intuitions, the premonition of the heart, and give yourself permission to follow it. It's brilliant, beautiful. It's very succinct. I love it. Free gift time. Again, we're talking with Kat Kim, and everyone listening to this live call and to the recorded version. If you're out there in podcast land, we love you too. katkim.com/free gift. No, is it free? Free gift. Yes, free gift.
So Kat Kim, KATKIM.com/gift.
Gift. Yes, Kat. Yeah. KATKIM.com/gift. And tell us what we're going to receive. It's like game show time.
I would really love to connect to the people. If my story resonated with you, I'd love to hear, your story as well. I love connecting with people. You know that, Jason, right? I just kind of love people.
I get that vibe.
So I wanted to offer you guys a free ebook version of my co-authored book. And in this book, there's I don't know, maybe 17 or 8. There's lots of chapters. You're going to get chapters on, your image and why it matters. There's chapters on taking close-ups with your pictures. There's a chapter on being poised under pressure, the language of shopping. There's a chapter on how to accessorize. There's even a chapter on being technologically savvy and the etiquette of dieting. So a group of professional image consultants got together and we wrote this book, and I wanted to offer the free ebook version of this.
Love that.
And I also wanted to hand out some training videos. I'm going to give out 3 of them. And the first one, you're going to learn the 3 things that you do, the 3 unconscious things you do when you look in the mirror that leaves you perpetually feeling overweight, unattractive, and unworthy, okay? Don't miss this video. I still do it sometimes because it's unconscious. We all do it, okay? Video number 2, you're going to learn the 4 components of your personal image that you need to know about. I went over a little bit today, but we'll go into a little bit more detail. You need to know these components if you want to attract the right people and circumstances to you. And video number 3 is the one and the only reason that you've been struggling to reach any of your goals, whether it's weight loss, relationship, career, or money goals. So,
the one and only reason.
Yeah, the one and only. There's only one.
The one and only reason you've been struggling to reach your weight loss goals, or any goal for that matter. That's powerful.
Yep, exactly.
I'd be interested in checking that out. I mean, even if you're skeptical, you're like, I'm skeptical. I got to opt in just to kind of watch this video. No, that's and I just want to kind of point out for everyone that this is actually part of your transformational coaching program that it's valued at $197. So this stuff has real tangible, real world value. And obviously just hearing from your story and your experiences, not only just your personal life. I mean, there's a difference when a coach that just talks about this kind of stuff, but then there's the people that have lived it and that with a deep compassion, that gives you the space and the non-judgment in order to, to kind of take the next step and, go down that journey so that you get real results, real, 3 reels. So I would highly recommend and advise every single person, if you've struggled with these self-confidence issues or just negative, look, if you find yourself using any negative language about yourself in your mind at any time during the day, using words like can't, like I can't do that, then go get this type of, this free gift. I mean, it's absolutely profound. And if it resonates with you, then I'm sure she'd be willing to be your Facebook friend and have a deeper conversation to kind of figure out a blueprint to get you even further. Yeah.
Yes. If you hear yourself saying those things, please, I'd love to connect with you. I love supporting people. It's just my thing. I love doing it. So I'd love to connect with you guys.
That's that South Korean kind of culture, isn't it? I mean, truly, seriously, I love South Korea. They're the most fascinating people. You don't like South Korea?
Yeah, maybe. It could be. I don't know. That's the first time I heard that one, but I dig it. Maybe.
I love South Korea.
Yeah, me too.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Food's great. People are nice. It's a little bit sterile. In other words, it's kind of, sometimes things start to all look the same. Maybe I just didn't get out in the country enough, but I can't wait to go back. I'll be there soon.
Yeah.
Anyway,
awesome.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you. And I do hope that everyone will go to katkim.com/gift. That's KATKIM.com/gift. And we'll obviously publish the URL along with the recording of this interview and this podcast on our SoundCloud profile directly after this call and on iTunes as soon as we hang up. Kim, Kat, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and I do hope that you'll come back again soon.
Yeah, let's do it again, Jason.
Absolutely. It's been a privilege and a blessing, and God bless you, my lady. And if we can ever do anything to support you, because we love supporting people too, feel free to let us know and give me a call anytime. And for now, and thanks. For Kat Kim, and for all of this entire community, again, reminder, no Wake Up to Success call tomorrow. It is Friday. It's our home business weekend. But I do look forward to seeing you back here, same bat time, same bat channel on Monday morning for the start of your home business work day. And for now, my good friends and my neighbors, this call, it is a wrap. Goodbye.
Goodbye.